Hello, welcome to Cost of Living, where I show you the amount of money required to cover necessary expenses to maintain a certain lifestyle for different countries and cities. In this simple guide, we explore the different elements that make up the cost of living in the UK capital, London, as well as the monthly expenses breakdown. Compared to much of the rest of the world, living in the UK can be expensive. Many of your regular monthly costs, rent, food, entertainment, will generally go up if you live in a big city. The cost of living in London represents the biggest price tag of all. At the beginning of 2022, the average monthly living cost for a single person in the UK was estimated to be around £2,020 with rent included. For a family of four, this figure goes up to £3,566. Of course, everyone's living costs are different depending on their tastes, choices and circumstances, but this is still a helpful yardstick. Rent. According to HomeLet, the average rent in London was £1,892 in August 2022. But depending on where you live in London, a one-bedroom flat can cost anywhere from £1,000 to £2,000 plus per month. High rents are the biggest reason that London's cost of living is so high. But it's also the expense that's most in your control. You could pay £2,000 per month to live in a charming one-bedroom in Hampstead, or pay £600 per month for a house share in Zone 3, and use the leftover money on travel or food or future savings, etc. If you moved to London from the US, you probably heard the budgeting rule that your housing costs shouldn't exceed 33% of your income. It's a rule we always followed when renting and owning in the States, and it served us well. So you can imagine the concern when you learned the average Londoner spends nearly half of their income on rent. Here are some of the factors that can raise or lower your monthly rent. Housing type. From flat shares to three-bedroom houses, you'll find all manner of accommodation in the city. It's obviously cheaper to rent a single room in a shared house than a studio flat in a full-service building. Zone. London is organised into rings of transport zones. They radiate out from central London, Zone 1, all the way to the Zone 9 suburbs. In general, the higher number zone you live in, the less you'll pay in rent for similar properties, but your transportation costs will also go up. Neighbourhood. Everyone wants to live in posh Kensington or trendy Shoreditch. But your money will go much farther in places like Clapham and Islington. You can check out this map of London rents to figure out what neighbourhoods fit your budget. Proximity to a tube or train station. Landlords charge a premium for rentals within short walking distance of a station. Accepting a 15 to 20-minute walk to the nearest train, tube stop could save you 10% or more. Amenities. Things like modern kitchens, garden access, and furnishings all impact the rental rate. There are flats on the same street with the same floor plan, but their rent is £200 less per month, because they haven't been updated in 10 years. Gas and electric. In London, you'll typically have your gas and electric provided by one company unless your place has a modern energy meter that bills by exact usage. You'll either need to submit meter readings every few months, or pay a fixed price. If you submit regular readings, the energy company will have a better sense of how much you should pay based on your usage. This will keep you from overpaying every month and having money sitting unused in your account, or underpaying and getting an adjustment bill. The fixed price comes from taking the average energy cost across the calendar year and dividing it by 12. If you've just moved into a new place, they'll go off of how much energy the former tenants used. For a one-bedroom flat, you can expect to pay around £198 per month for energy from October 2022. Of course, the exact amount can vary based on if you're in a basement or top-floor flat, if your windows have double glazing, if you do a lot of cooking at home, etc. Most of the city is served by Thames Water, so there's no shopping around for this monthly expense in London. There are two different kinds of water bills, metered and unmetered. If your flat has a water meter, you'll pay for your exact usage, plus a fixed amount for things like wastewater. If you don't have a water meter, you'll pay a certain amount based on the charge area, i.e. borough, where you live, and the size of your property. Plan to pay £20 to £30 per month for water. If you're on a metered connection and take lots of baths and showers, you'll pay more accordingly. Thames Water has a bunch of payment plans ranging from weekly to annually, so you won't necessarily pay a bill each month. Internet and cell phones. Good news, your broadband costs will be nice and predictable each month. What you pay will mainly depend on how much speed you want. One of the pros of living in London is that most neighbourhoods have multiple broadband providers. And the competition between them means you can get excellent upload and download speeds for a great price, at least compared to the US. There are also discounts for bundling things like television and cellular service. The average internet bill is about £35 per month for mid-range speed package, with a minimum download speed of around 50 megabits per second, and it's plenty for one or two people who like to stream in HD. And for cell phones, expect to pay £15 per month for 5 gigabytes of data, 1,000 texts, and 500 talk minutes. You can even use your data in a bunch of European countries without paying a fee. Many Londoners opt for pay-as-you-go plans rather than annual contracts. This gives you the freedom to switch providers whenever you want and upgrade or downgrade your services as needed. Groceries. Food spending is one of those monthly expenses in London that depends heavily on your tastes and habits. If you're hitting up the farmer's market for organic produce every week, your grocery bill will be far higher than a thrifty shopper who gets everything from Lidl. And if you don't like to cook, or your flat doesn't have much of a kitchen, you might spend most of your food money on dining out instead of groceries. Now, I realize none of that is helpful when you're trying to estimate your food budget in London. So let's assume you cook most of your meals at home and bring your own lunch to work most days. And let's also assume you shop at Sainsbury's, a mid-range grocery store. In this case, your monthly grocery bill for one person will be around £200 to £250 per month. Again, there are so many factors that could make this number higher or lower for you. I suggest being conservative in your initial budgeting and tracking your grocery spending for the first few months to adjust as needed. Dining out and delivery. In a city with thousands of amazing restaurants and multiple delivery services, it's easy to spend a lot in this area. As food lovers who enjoy trying new cuisines, dining out and delivery are some of our biggest drivers to the cost of living in London. The average food delivery order for one person could easily be £30 plus a tip. And for a dine out of a mid-range meal could be £30 average. Another sneaky cost to consider is coffee. Many Londoners grab a morning brew on their way to work, and it adds up quickly. A cappuccino from a local coffee shop will set you back about £3 to £4 depending on the place. Instead of offering a monthly amount to budget, here's what I suggest. Look at what you currently spend in this area and add 20%. While groceries are fairly affordable in London, restaurant prices are pretty inflated. And nowhere is this more true than drinks. It's not uncommon to pay £6 for a pint of beer and £12 for a cocktail. Transportation. Like housing, your monthly transportation costs in London will vary greatly based on where you live. Rent may be cheaper in Zone 5 than Zone 2, but your transportation fares into central London will be almost double. Most Londoners don't drive. Instead, rely on public transit to get around, whether that be the bus, tube, or train. Most people who have to travel across zones for work buy a monthly or annual travel card. Travel cards are like passes you add to your Oyster card that provide unlimited travel by bus, train, and tube within certain zones. Just as an example, a monthly travel card for zones 1 to 3 costs £174 per month in 2022. Driving in the city is a major hassle. Most people who live and work in London won't need a car unless they have multiple children or need to travel the country for work. If you only need a car for the occasional IKEA trip or holiday, it's cheaper to rent one, or can take a taxi and expect to pay £10 for 12 minutes ride or more. Health and personal care. For the typical premium for private health insurance for an individual is about £1,435 per year. This equates to around £120 per month. And you can spend an average of £55 per month on personal care. That included haircuts, a fancy spa facial, a bit of makeup, and several nice skincare products. Entertainment. From Netflix to theater tickets, this category is all about having fun. And we all have our own ways to spend our free time, so I can't presume to put a number on this monthly expense. Whatever your circumstances, be sure to budget for recurring costs, streaming services, satellite TV, video game subscriptions, etc. After that, it's up to you. I will say that there are tons of cheap and free things to do in London, from visiting the amazing museums to catching a comedy show at a pub. So if you're stressing about money, know that you can find plenty of entertainment options in London that cost little to no money. Other expenses. Last but certainly not least, you have the other expenses. This includes things like pet supplies, dry cleaning, laundry detergents, toilet paper, clothes shopping, gifts, and dental cleanings and households. These are things we all have to buy but often forget to budget for. On average, you could be spending £30 per month. I suggest looking at your current spending in these miscellaneous areas to inform your London budget. Most of this stuff are comparably priced. However, clothing in the UK is about 20% more expensive than in the US. Keep that in mind if you like to buy new clothes throughout the year. Taxes. Council tax. In the UK, renters also have to pay council tax, which is like property tax. Sometimes landlords will pay it for you and just add the cost to your monthly rent. But usually, you'll get an annual bill in the mail that you're responsible for paying. How much you pay depends on your borough and property value. Fortunately, students don't have to pay council tax, and single occupants get a 25% discount. Council tax can be very expensive, so do your research before signing a lease. Telly tax. If you own a television in the UK, you are required to pay an annual television licensing fee, i.e. telly tax. This fee helps pay for free over-air television and services like BBC iPlayer. In 2022, a TV license cost £159 per year. Be sure to pay your licensing fee as soon as you purchase a TV, or bring one over from another country. There are hefty fines for failing to register your television. Here are some easy ways to cut the cost of living in London, but there are some areas where you can make savings. Transport for London operates excellent public transport networks that can really reduce the cost of commuting. Depending on where you live, the underground, train, bus and even ferry routes can be a much cheaper alternative to running a vehicle of your own. Of course, the cheapest transport option is to walk or cycle everywhere you can. Much of London is experiencing upgrade works for its cycle paths and public walkways, so this may be more feasible than it first seems. Another major saving is the abundance of free cultural and entertainment venues London supports. No other major capital city can boast such a variety and quality of attractions with completely free access. If you watched the video up until this point, awesome, thank you for watching it. And if you found it valuable, consider subscribing and see you next video.